Welcome everybody, this is Frank DiMora with the Last Chronicles of Planet Earth. And if you're watching my YouTube channel, I'd like to invite you to go to my prophecy site that you see here, BibleProphecyMan.com. And once you're there, if you're new and you don't know, you can scroll down at my site and you'll see a link. October the 28th, 2011. This is the newest edition of this documentary that I wrote. There's 35 years of ministry work put together to show you all the facts and the evidence and the proof that the words in the Bible, the warnings about these last days are coming to pass. And you really should take this free offer. I'm not going to ask you for a dime. I never have and I never will. It's a free gift to you so that you'll have a good understanding of what Jesus said to look for, and is it really happening? And when you read this documentary, you'll understand that it is definitely taking place. Now, one of the things that I'm going to be covering again today, because this prophecy hasn't been fulfilled yet, but we can see the road being laid out for this war. And it is a war that we'll find in Psalm 83. In Psalm 83, there's a list of the nations that I put up here from the Old Testament names, and then I give you who these nations are to the right. So you'll see the Palestinians in the Old Testament, they're Edom, all right? But they're actually today Palestinians, which are also in southern Jordan, or the Jordanians. And then you see the Saudis, you see central Jordanians, you see the Egyptians, the Lebanese. You'll also see, as we go down to Phoenicia, which is the modern day Palestinians, who are the Hamas in the Gaza Strip, the Hezbollah in south or southern Lebanon, or Lebanese. And then you have Syria as well as northern Iraq. So you can go to my site. All these names will be there. They are also in my book. It gives you more information. But I wanted to post this because I'm going to be talking about this, and so just keep this in mind. You can always go back and relook the names, and you'll understand how important it is to keep your eyes on the news when it comes to this. So, keeping that in mind, I want to go to a scripture here found in Matthew chapter 24, verse 7. You see the King James Version. It says, "For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in divers places." Now, I'm going to bring us to kingdom against kingdom, because we're seeing a lot of civil unrest amongst the nations around the world, more so in 2011 than I've ever seen. We thought there was a lot in 2010, but in 2011 it really ratcheted up a notch. I'm going to bring all these things into focus for you, but let me show you right now what is going on in Russia. Here's Putin. Putin was the leader of Russia. He took a back seat to Medvedev, but the new elections are coming up in which this man will probably be elected again as the head of Russia. But as we see here, there's been unrest that has gone out. The Russians protest election fraud. Prime Minister Vladimir Putin strongly criticized the U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Rodham Clinton on December 8th, accusing her of encouraging funding the Russians protesting election fraud, and warned a wider Russian crackdown on dissident. And so you're going to add this nation to the list of nations who have entered this civil unrest. Now I'm going to show you some of the pictures here that have come out. And so when you watch these pictures, just think about what Jesus said about the last days and how kingdom would be coming against kingdom. This will give you a good idea what's taking place in Russia. And I'm going to give you the link so you can watch, you can go back and you can view these 31 photos if you want. But let me go on to another article about this. It says Russia's anti-Putin protest grows. Tens of thousands say they are prepared to take to the streets in the biggest challenge yet to the country's government. And as I said before, there's nations all over the world now that are disrupting governments, one reason or another, whether they're protesting against austerity budgets and their countries falling apart because of the budget cuts or because of religious turmoil or whatever the case. We see many, many countries, and I'm going to show you a list of these countries that have gone into this unrest. Now, here is a link, and again, I'm going to be putting the link so you can click it if you want when you get to my website. It says, what countries are currently undergoing civil unrest or rebellion? And as you read this, as you look at this, please keep in mind what Jesus told us. Kingdom against kingdom. And as you can see here, it says updated as of June. But now we see that Russia has been added to this list, and that's why I put Russia up first. Now, it started with Tunisia, and it spread, and as you know, that it spread into Egypt. We saw news, continuous news, and we still see the news about what's taking place in Egypt. Then you saw Gaddafi, who was killed just recently in Libya with the unrest, the civil unrest, kingdom against kingdom in that country. Then we saw Yemen, same thing. And of course, when you go to my website, you click the link, you'll be able to read all the information if you really want to go that route. But the bottom line is I'm just showing you all the different nations that are in upheaval or civil unrest, as Jesus warned. Now, almost every single night now we're seeing Bashar al-Assad and the bloody conflict between the Syrians fighting Syrians in that country. Then you have Bahrain. You have Algeria. You see months of protests going back to the Tunisian demonstrations. Lebanon. You have the factions. The Hezbollah pulled out of the coalition government in January, leading to its collapse. You have problems with Iran. Many of the younger people in Iran think that Ayatollah Khamenei and Ahmadinejad are too radical, and they've been protesting there. You have problems now with Saudi Arabia. You have problems that shot up in Jordan. Street protests have led King Abdullah II to sack his prime minister and announce a financial package to raise salaries and subsidize food, because one of the main reasons why these countries were in turmoil or went into the civil unrest is because a lot of people were going hungry. Food is getting too expensive, and some of these protests broke out. So you can see for yourself that the Lord's warning about civil unrest is definitely taking hold. Now let me go on here. I want to show you Isaiah chapter 19. Now Isaiah chapter 19 is very interesting in itself. I'm going to move this over here for a second here. But Isaiah chapter 19 talks about Egypt. And this is, before you forget, let me go back here, because keep in mind, when you look at the list of nations that are going back and they're going to be fighting against Israel in the Psalm 83 war, you will see number 4, the Hagarenes, Egyptians are going to be mounting and coming against Israel with the rest of these countries. And this is why I put this photo up with all the names of those people. Now, in Isaiah chapter 19, we see the burden of Egypt. And we see Egypt in verse 2. And this is, we know that this is started in January of this year, 2011. And I will set Egyptians against Egyptians. And they're still fighting as the beginning of 2011. Some of the disturbances have subsided because they got rid of Mubarak, who was the president. He was the president there for, I think, over 40 years. But as the Lord showed us, the Egyptians will be fighting against Egyptians, and they shall fight everyone against his brother, and that's what we've been seeing. Now, when you scroll down further, this is what we believe is going to happen. It says, and the Egyptians will give over into the hand of a cruel lord, and a fierce king shall rule over them. Now, I've been warning out of the protests. This government will shoot up, a new government will shoot up, and it will be one that will go against Israel. They'll hate Israel, and I believe that the person who will be taken over will be that cruel leader that the Lord warned us about. Now, knowing this, let's go into an article that I want to show you. It has to do with Egypt's new government and what they're doing. They're going to have to form now a new constitution because Mubarak was cast out. This was as today's news. Egypt's military leaders to appoint council to oversee drafting of the new constitution. Egypt's military rulers say that the next parliament will not be representative enough to independently oversee the drafting of the constitution, and that they will appoint a council to check the influence of religious extremists on the process. Now, what you should know, if you scroll down to there, it says the new constitution will determine the nature of Egypt's post-Mubarak political system, liberal groups, and the military and secular institution that has traditionally controlled access of Islamics to its ranks are concerned that religious extremists will exert too much influence and could try to enshrine strict Islamic law, or Sharia, as the only guiding principle for the state. Now, this is one of the things that I've been warning about, because the cruel leader, a cruel religious leader, and representative from the Muslim Brotherhood, with under Sharia law, strict Sharia law, you can see the hand of this strict leader that was warned in the scriptures that would be coming. Now, one of the things that I wanted to show you, here's an article about what they want to do. The Egyptian Islamics put Sharia law on the agenda after the election gains. So what they want is the Sharia law. Now, according to the spokesman Muhammad here, said that Salafist Noor Party, which wants Sharia law to be an integral part of Egypt's new constitution, expected to get 30% of the vote, and was leading the polls in the rural Nile Delta province of Kar el-Sheikh, known as the high rates of literacy and poverty in parts of its long-time stronghold in Alexandria. So, like I warned, they want to push in this new constitution, and the Muslim Brotherhood has taken a lead. They've won more seats now for this new government, and I really believe that the new constitution that they will get will be based on Sharia law. Now, in Sharia law, you have to understand that Sharia law, strict Sharia law, hates Israel. Israel occupies East Jerusalem, and they need to get this East Jerusalem back. That's their belief. That's what the Quran teaches, and this is one of the reasons why they hate the Jews so much. So get ready, because what's taken place in Egypt has been prophesied to us in Scripture. The attack will be coming. Egypt will be part of this attack, and this is why we see what's taking place with the government and the new cruel leader that will be coming.